Hello, everyone, and welcome to Career 101 podcast powered by Afrage e-learning. I'm your host, Ahad Ali Siddiqui, and as always, we are here to explore careers that matters, careers that are not only pay the bill, but they leave a really good mark as well. So today, our guest has spent more than 2 decades in one of the most impactful and often overlooked field, development communication, from writing newsletters to leading a major US aid fund program, and from grassroots advocacy to founding an essential platform for Pakistan's NGO sector. He has done it all. So please welcome Mr. Safeer Ullah Khan, the founder of Pak NGOs, a platform that created in 2017 that has been a go-to space to professionals, organizations, and activists across Pakistan's development landscape. Safir has led communication and program strategy for a range of organizations like Bedari and the Ambassadors Fund grant program, and continues to push for transparency, collaboration, and real impact in civil society. So we are thrilled to have him in our this session of Career 101 to explore what it means to build a career at the intersection of storytelling, social change, and services. So the thing is that uh, development sector, and when it comes to development communication, is something which is not very much talked about but is always around it and impacts our life every or very very often, and the kind of things that we are doing. So welcome so much, thank you so much, Safir, for being here, and we are very glad to have you. How are you doing?
Thank you so much, Ahad. I'm really glad to be here and a little nervous after this introduction.
A little nervous after. No, I
Yeah.
think you're more than capable of, and you're being very modest at the moment because all the things that you have done and spending a little over 2 decades in the development communication, we have so much to ask you about, and I am definitely very sure that the kids who are going to watch this podcast, in order to understand what is development communication is, what is development sector is, you are definitely going to be a big, big help. So, would you like to make an opening stand at, in the modern day and age, as the landscape of studying, a landscape of careers also changing, especially in the past 6 to 7 years? How do you see this change benefiting or, in a way, becoming a roadblock uh, uh, for people who wants to come into development and development communication?
Well, that's a difficult question actually, because the landscape is changing really, really very fast. But communication is and will remain a very important aspect of any program, whether it's a commercial venture, whether it's a development or, I mean, a charitable venture. In any case, communication will remain important. I think what the technology is doing is making work easier. For example, writing a success story, or writing a case study, or writing a blog post. This is the kind of stuff that would take hours, if not days, sometimes for us to come up with a very good blog post or very good article. But that has become really easy now with the help of the technology, especially artificial intelligence and that kind of stuff. So I think technology is helping us, but we will, as long as AI is unable to take decisions or make decisions, we would need a human being at the back end who would take decisions and ask AI to do things. I think you're muted.
Apologies. Yes. So, just to sum it up, I guess the best way to sum it up would be that as much as AI is being required in this in this field of development and communication, human is also required by AI, so that things can be very much kept in that human element. and been around with the facts and figures. So, yes, let's dive into the Career 101 episode 5, session 5. And we have a lot of questions for you, Safir. And I hope that these questions that I have drafted will definitely benefit and get some answers that are going to unleash the realities and the actual realities of development communication. But first, we'd like to go through your journey a little bit. I would really like to know what first drew you into the world of development, and was it a personal calling or was something you stumbled into?
Well, it was more of stumble into kind of thing because back then, it was about 25 years or so ago when I graduated. I did masters in English literature and was looking for a career. So the available careers, as you know, were teaching or joining army or police department or health department, or you could go into the corporate sector. So I was looking around and I needed a job very badly. Somebody recommended me to a certain NGO. They asked me to, okay, come over, have a chit chat. And then they asked me to write a report for them. And they said, okay, you are good at it. So you join us and write reports for us. So that's how it started. And then I started going out to see the projects being implemented in the field so that I could write good reports, relevant and realistic reports. So that's how developed. I mean, I got into it, and then I slowly developed my interest in the field work and the development
Great. So
work.
you stumble upon it through the need of getting a job, and then your skills that came in handy as coming from a background of masters in literature, English literature, came very handy here, and you just stumble upon it and keep on working. And would you like to tell us a little bit more that from newsletter writing and communication, how far do you went into? As I've said, you have led projects and you said projects. A little bit about the more about those projects that you have led and the different domains of projects that goes on in a development sector as well.
Well, primarily I was responsible for communication needs of the organization. So managing a project was not my primary responsibility, but at times I did manage some projects. Sometimes my organization got in a difficult situation. For example, one project that I led was in 2014 when my organization hired one person after another for managing that project, but the person would spend another month or two implementing the project and then would leave. So the
Mhm.
situations were becoming more and more difficult for my organization to execute that project successfully, and we were really worried about it. So one day, and the important thing was that I had written the proposal. So the project was conceived by me. I had conceived it and I had written the proposal. So I knew the ins and outs, every detail of the project.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
myself volunteered and shared this with my managers, management of the organization, that I think I'm the right person to do it now because if we bring in another new manager, he or she would take about a month or so to understand what the project is all about, and then would after that he or she would be able to start implementing it. But then it would be really very late, and if another person leaves after a month or so, we will be unable to implement this project at all.
Mhm.
So I stepped in, and they were happy to do it. I mean, put this burden on my shoulders. The organization, the management was really happy about it that I had volunteered myself. So it was being implemented in South Punjab, some about 700 kilometers from here and another district. But I would travel really frequently, and I am really happy that the team there in Muzaffargarh was really good. So they cooperated very well with me, and I didn't have to stay for months and months there. I would just visit that there. I would discuss the plans, see the progress in the previous fortnight or so. So we implemented that project, and we very successfully completed it within the given timeline. So
Mhm.
that's I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I would sometimes take on. But most of the times, I was responsible for the communication
Yes.
needs of the organization. So whenever a new project is being launched, I need to write about it. I need to inform the general public and the different stakeholders within this development sector that we are going to launch a new project. We would seek collaborations with government organizations, with other private charitable organizations which are doing work in the same field, in the same sector. Uh, that was one of the things. Then, as the projects progressed, I would share the progress, the developments with the sector, with the uh, mm, collaborators, with the stakeholders, etc. I would write reports, I would write blog posts, I would develop newsletters, a website, sometimes videos, which is becoming more common now, but back then
Yes.
creating a video was a rather
Un-
rare thing.
Perfect, perfect, understandable. As you have also mentioned, so a profession where one sometimes one chooses a profession sometimes chooses you, and I guess that happened in your case in terms of it. But leading communication, and that's the most important, one of the most important factors of development sector, because it's all about communication, especially from the proposal writing, because have to draft a very compiling, engaging proposal which is somehow touch the lines of marketing as well, because you are trying to give the best offer and in the best possible way, so that you can gauge the donors and the people who are funding, who are going to fund your project, because they might have multiple options and they get to select
Of
yours. A
course.
very, it's a very crucial things to do. So yes, the communication comes in very comes in and fills a very important factor for development, and you have led communication across major development programs. So what actually excites you about communicating for change versus, say, marketing or for a business? Because it's very close to marketing, but it goes at least more towards communication for change in society,
Yep, of
change
course.
in the landscape of it. So what excites you about it?
Before that, I think I would like to explain a little about how communication and actually communication is part of everything.
Yes.
Whether you are a finance managing finance, whether you are writing proposals. Generally, within the development sector, we the proposal writing is a different job, which is not usually responsibility of the communication people. We have a separate department called resource mobilization department, or
Yeah.
maybe a similar name for it. They are the people who would be writing proposals. But of course, again, it's writing, it's communication. So in my case, I have been engaged for proposal writing so many times. And another very important thing, I often say that actually communication is the best proposal writing part. Uh, why I say that, let me explain that a little. Because generally, when a donor agency, an international foundation, or UN organization, or government institution asks NGOs to submit proposals, there are plenty of proposals submitted, and the competition is really very tough. So, if there is an organization has asked for 10 proposals, it may receive 1,000 proposals. So it becomes really difficult for them to pick 10 best proposals from within them, and it becomes really difficult for the people who submit these proposals to win a grant. So that's
Understandable.
usually very difficult, and the success rate is almost always very little, 1%, 2%. Even if somebody has a 5% success rate, we would really get up and salute him or her, because that's really big. So what else works in this scenario? Since the donor organizations know that if they, open a call for proposal, they would receive thousands of applications. So it would be really difficult for them to pick the right kind of implementing partner. So in that case, what they do usually is they look for organizations which are already working in those particular sectors, in those particular fields. For example, if it's girls' education or it's child marriages or something. So they would try to find out which organization within Pakistan or whatever country they want to implement a project there. There. So they would try to find out organizations which are already doing good work, which have experience of working on that particular issue, which have links or roots in the communities, various communities, and they are already showing some good results as well. So in that case, they would try to engage such NGOs and ask them to, the donor organization and the implementing partner then work together on developing a proposal, a project concept. So that is usually a more successful way of getting funds. And since now, as I told you, that the donor organization would look for organizations which are already working on those issues. So that is where the communication person's role comes in. Uh, since I was a communication person and I was highlighting the work my organization was doing in different fields like girls' education or child marriages, so it was my work that got attention. Of course, the actually, people working in the field, they do get, they deserve their credit as well. But they are implementing a project. I am highlighting the successes or the challenges of the project through our website, through social media, or the mainstream media, wherever I get a chance. And that's what the donor organizations get. Put their eyes on. They get to know that this organization is doing really good work on child marriages. So they would approach us and then ask us to work together with them and develop a new proposal on child marriages. So this is a way I always say that communication is the best resource mobilization strategy, which very few people understand. By the way, it's kind of I'm giving you a really good trick.
Yeah, I understand. I want to probe a little into it. So please elaborate it a little bit. How communication is the best communication resource? How communication is a resource that can be best mobilized, and how beneficial it is, especially in development sector. And as we go along, for a few other sectors, if you can tab into that as well, just briefly a little bit about, so that those who are listening get to understand about it a little better.
Yeah, though, by the way, I remember you had asked a different question before, and I haven't
I
answered
understand.
that.
I understand, but we'll dive into
Well,
that. But let's
we'll
just to sum it up,
we'll
Safi.
get back. Okay.
Yeah, but
Okay, we will get back to that later.
yeah,
Now, let's go with the flow of the
sure.
conversation.
Yes, go for it.
So, communication is a resource, and in Pakistan, usually the mainstream organizations just deal with the formal donors. When I say formal donors, I mean the institutions, which are either international foundations, UN agencies, or government institutions, and they seek funds from them. But then there is another stream or another group, category of organizations which collect funds from individuals. You may call it crowdfunding or whatever, charity amounts that they collect from individuals in Pakistan. ADI Foundation is a very good example of this.
Yeah.
There are so many others, but ADI Foundation comes to mind immediately. So they collect funds from individuals. So you have to strategize your communication strategy.
Accordingly.
You have to, because the formal donors, the institutional donors, have a very different way of looking at the issues and looking at how they would fund an organization, why they would fund an organization. While on the other side, the individuals have a very different set of preferences. They would have very different reasons to uh, give money or funds to the organizations. And most of our organizations are unable to handle both these streams. Organizations like any foundation usually rely exclusively on the individual charity that they receive from individuals, and other organizations like mainstream NGOs, which are very, very well known, they would go for institutional funding only. So this, I would
Hmm.
advise organizations to and explore both these streams of funding. So the way, if you ask me how different it is, I would say that when you go to an institutional donor, like a foundation or a government institution or anything, they are more interested in facts and figures. If you ask them that you want to work on, let's say, girls' education, they would want to know which district you want to work in. What's the existing situation of girls' education there? How many girls are out of school? They need numbers. And what plan you have to to deal with that issue. If there is a district that has about 200,000 girls out of school, how many what's the total number of girls, how many girls are already in the schools, what kind of schools they are going to, what's the quality of education there, how many girls are not going to school, and what are the reasons for them not going to school, and how you are going to deal with. So you have to be very logical, and you have to have statistics data in your hands, so you can convince your donor. When you go to the individual donor, what works more is the emotions. This number thing, 200,000 girls are not going to school, that may not affect or inspire
Understandable.
or, affect the individual donor. But if you tell them why a girl not going to school, what kind of abuse or what kind of problems she would face, or if you can relate an out of school girl with his daughter, okay, create an emotional
At a very
connection or something,
yes, at a
that
very
would work more.
human level.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, for example, if I go to an individual person, and he's, let's say, playing with his daughter, and I tell him that, oh, great, you have a very beautiful daughter, very intelligent one. I'm glad she's so happy. You take so good care. But there are girls who don't have their fathers, or whose fathers aren't
Mhm.
able to uh, I mean, send her to school, or buy her books,
Mhm.
etc. So why don't you extend your this goodness of your heart, and you take up responsibility for one more girl, and sponsor her education? So this would
Yes.
work more with an individual, rather than I go and tell him or her that there are
Yes.
200,000 girls who cannot go to school. So this is the main key difference. And then if you, I mean, think over it, you would find more ways to deal with these
Understandable. And as
situations.
it goes, it also answers the first question. I guess the way you have answered the question communicates your excitement, which was actually the initial question that what the leading cause of communication across major development programs, what makes you exciting about writing for change
Yeah,
versus, yeah. So I guess that sums it up very well in a very, very natural way.
yeah.
I
I
guess
think
one
at
of the,
this point, I should add a little more to answer your first question as well, and then we can move forward to another
yeah,
side. Uh,
yeah,
mm, One is, it's actually, I mean, like I told you that I have in this quite recent example, I told you that I was able to secure I mean, funding for another girl's education, single. And
yeah,
similarly, I deal with a donor, and I secure funding for, let's say, 100 girls or 200 girls or 500 girls, because there is now an institutional donor who can come up with really big amounts of funding. So, and then these girls start going to school. So that's what excites me.
yeah.
When I see those girls who were not going to school, and now they're going to school, and if I stay, I mean, in touch with those projects and those communities for longer term. Usually, projects are a year long, or 2 years, or 3 years, maximum 5 years. Very rare that they go beyond 5 years. So, if you remain in touch with the communities, and I actually worked on a girls' education project, so that's why I mean, the examples are coming from my work actually. So I found that there were 3 or 4 girls who started going to college afterwards, and then they started doing jobs. They took up jobs, and
Life
then
got changed. Yeah.
it changed the whole culture of that particular village, because
Yeah.
there no girl was going to school. After these 3 or 4 girls started earning for themselves,
Yeah.
now everybody was impressed, and everybody wanted to send his or her daughter to school. So in
Yeah.
5 years' time, the entire village, I mean, how the village looked at girls' education, their perspective had completely changed. So when I
Yes.
saw that, that gave me a really personal satisfaction. Another side
Perfect.
of the question that you asked was how it is different from commercial communication and this development communication. I think one major difference is that in the commercial communication, the communication persons, the brand managers, or that kind of people, they are more focused on uh, selling.
The capital,
Usually,
yeah, the
yeah,
capitalistic
I
element of
mean,
the story. Yes.
the company wants to maximize its profits. Or
Yes. Yes.
and,
Yes.
maximizing your profit is, I mean, an outcome of a result of
A key outcome.
maximizing your
Yes.
sales. So you are
Yes.
trying to sell things, and in that case, I mean, a little exaggeration, a little being a little uh, dicey can work. And
Mm.
commercial communication campaigns usually do this. I mean, they are not very clear about ethical limitations. They do take
Yes.
liberties with that. Okay, but
Sometimes,
in
yeah, I guess.
development communication, you cannot do this because you are working to bring about a positive change. And
Mm.
what they say, I mean, generally, sometimes we say that the of means justify the results. No, in the development sector, that doesn't work. The means should be fair. The information, and if actually, if you want to change mindsets, you will have to be fair. You will have to be truthful. You will have to be very careful in your communication, and you the change, those vulnerable people that you are working for, they should always be at the top of your mind.
Mm.
Recently, I was just talking to a young fellow who was asking for an advice, and I told him that sometimes our intervention, we have to be very, very careful. Sometimes our intervention can be counterproductive as well. So we have to be very careful. For example, there's a girl who is not going to school and her father is not ready to send her to school. Now, I am an outsider. I don't belong to that village. If I try to talk to her father with all the
Mm.
good intentions, despite all the good intentions, that would be counterproductive. It
Mm.
would backfire. I need to find someone from within that village who can talk to her father. So you
Mm.
have to be sensitive to the culture, how people perceive things. You should know that so you can come up with the right kind of strategy to communicate with the people. And being communication person, you are communicating with so many different stakeholders. Community I mean, the parents of the girls are one stakeholder only. Then the schools and their management, the teachers are another stakeholder. Policymakers are the education department and the bureaucracy involved there. They are that's another stakeholder. So you have to understand all the stakeholders and come up with a strategy that works with all of them.
Hmm, perfect. That sums and covers everything up very precisely, actually. And now, as we have understand what goes around when it comes to development communication, when we hear these words, communication in development or development program communication, we get to see what is the core of this profession. And now we are going to dive into very briefly it's how it attracts other people and what is rewarding for the career path. Now we're going to add into the element how those who are young adults who are trying to get into the real world at the moment, what kind of temperaments do they have, and if they have them, should they pursue development sector or development communication. So for young professionals looking at the development sector, what makes it rewarding as a career path, how rewarding it is, and what the elements like, there will be a financial element. We will definitely discuss that. But what is the rewarding career factor in development and communication development sector that a young adult should get to know about firsthand from the person who have spent over 2 decades in the field.
Well, I think the most rewarding aspect of development communication is when, like I told you, that I went again to the same village and I found that 4 or 5 girls are now have taken up jobs, and the whole village now looks at girls' education in a very different way. 5 years ago, they thought that it was a waste of time to send your girl to school, spend money on her education, on her books, on her uniforms, and things like that. But now everybody in that village believes that sending girl to school is a very, very good investment. And they are willing now. I mean, our organization, after 5 years, stepped out of that particular village. But even then, a village where no girl was going to school 5 years ago, then we intervened and we managed to send 30 girls to the school from that village. And 5 years later, we have stepped out, but still 45 girls are going to school. So that is the change. And when you see that change, when you see the change in those girls' lives, how their situation has improved. Now they have some money in their hands. They have some control over their own lives. They can make choices. So when you see that, that is the biggest satisfaction that comes with your work,
That is the
and
biggest
that keeps
rewarding
you.
element. in the career.
rewarding
Uh,
element. Yes, so
Perfect,
that
perfect.
keeps you going. There are challenges, there are difficulties, of course, in every field and in the development sector as well. But this satisfaction keeps you going. This reward is beyond money.
Perfect. If you are somebody who likes to help people right now, if you wants to see a betterment in your community, if you have those kind of temperaments, and if you have those kind of callings, and you can just assess yourself, yourself as a person, if you're looking into this career, and if this rewarding element actually gives you a little bit of peace and it feels good, so you can definitely try going into a development sector. And then there are different fields. There's communication, there's writing, there's on field. Right, there are people who are in the development sector, they are interior designers, then they are educationalists in the development sector. So yes, you can, but this is the major rewarding element when it comes to development sector. And thank you so much, Safi, for answering that so amazingly. With that, now as we have seen that the time is going a little faster than it ever happened, ever passed, because things are changing at a rapid speed because of technology and the way we are learning and the way we are doing. So is the case with every other profession. So is the case with the development sector. What promising trend or innovation in the development world that gives you a little bit of hope about, and a positive element that this is going to change the landscape of a few things in terms of development sector, apart from the AI, apart from writing, other inventions that gives you a little bit of hope uh, in the a brighter future that you see because of that in the development sector.
When you say brighter future for the people or for the communication, I mean the people who are working in
I would say, I
organizations
guess,
or the
nothing,
communities
nothing,
there.
nothing. Yeah, nothing beats the brighter future of people, because that's where it's mostly needed. But let's dive into
Yeah.
both of it. So why don't you give us an answer that covers the element for people as well, but plus the people who are going, because those are also people who are going to dive into this profession, and they are
Yeah.
going to make their living out of it as well, and then impacting other lives in society as well. So why don't we dabble around both of these elements?
Well, I'll try to answer as much as I can. Uh, I think what essentially is needed when you are in the development sector is the empathy for the people. That's your core requirement. If you don't have empathy for the people who you want to serve or who your organization wants to serve, it becomes really difficult for you to continue working over there, no matter if you are getting good money, good salary, or whatever. But it becomes really difficult because it's challenging. So empathy for the people, understanding their circumstances, understanding their situation, uh, what kind of lives they live, what kind of challenges they have, that is a basic requirement. No matter whether you are a communication person or you are doing any other job within the development sector, even if you are doing monitoring and evaluation, or you are doing field work or whatever, you need an empathy. You should be able to empathize with the people you are serving. So that's one thing. Then when it so if you have that empathy, you would be able to connect with those people, you will be able to understand them, you will be able to serve them better. As far as job is concerned, development sector, though otherwise when I look at the other sectors, it is as unpredictable in the corporate sector as well as in the development sector. The only sector where you have relatively stable careers, that's the government sector, where nobody can fire you. So, if you are looking for stability, you should go to the government sector. You should join any government job. If you are, looking for maximizing profits, you are more into earning money and that kind of stuff. I think you should go to the corporate sector. If you want to serve people and have a reasonable, a decent income for yourself, then development sector is I mean, uh, your
That could be the
destination.
calling for you if you yes, if you
Yeah,
get to ask this question perfectly. Again, coming back to
yeah,
the point
exactly. So,
that we have discussed. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Please
please
go
go
on.
ahead. Go ahead.
So yes, I was trying to ask you that with that, there's definitely empathy comes in and plays a very, very important role for people who are going to work for the society, no matter where they stand and whatever domain they work around. for the welfare of society. The what I want to know a little bit that what innovation or what kind of trend you seems to you looks very promising in the development sector that is going or that is just started or just going to come into play in a few years or so.
Well, if we look at, within Pakistan, I would say that the trend is not very positive. The development sector is shrinking. For past 10 years. Uh,
Hmm.
we saw the peak period between 2005 and I would say 2015. You can't draw a line, exact line anywhere, but that was the decade when the development sector in Pakistan was booming. There were too many funds coming in. In 2005, we had an earthquake, and the whole world was sympathizing with us. So they just opened up their funds and they pumped so much funding in Pakistan. And Pakistan was facing terrorism. Pakistan received international support from its international friends, government donors. So European countries were supporting us to fight the terrorism. There was a
Understand.
Kerry Lugar bill in the USA that opened up so many avenues of funding for Pakistan. So Pakistan's development sector was booming until I would say 2015 or 2016 something. But then slowly the Pakistan's own government became a bit suspicious of the development organizations and they started squeezing it. So slowly Pakistan's development sector started shrinking and about I think roughly about 70 to 80 international organizations closed their operations from Pakistan and went away. And when I generally believe that when one international organization closes its office in Pakistan, that means about 15 to 20 Pakistani organizations would lose funding support, financial support. So they would either reduce their operations drastically or they would close down. So my own rough estimate is not based on any particular report or data, but my estimate is that about 80 around 80 organizations will close their offices, international organizations close their offices in Pakistan. And as a result, about 800 or so Pakistani organizations had to close their offices or reduce their operations drastically. So, so I saw people in the development sector in Pakistan who earned really good salaries, but then slowly, as the development sector shrank, their salaries were reduced, and so many people switched to other sectors. They joined corporate sector, or they started their own venture, like started a business, a startup, or something like that. So the development sector is shrinking in Pakistan. The opportunities are going down. It's a bit difficult to survive.
Understandable. So, as we have said, okay, for the viewers who are watching us from across the globe, Pakistan can be studied as a very comprehensive case study when it comes to development sectors because Pakistan has
Mhm.
been the receiving end of AIDS throughout the world for a longer period of time. The development sector boomed and then shrinked in its own case. So, yes, if you are looking into how the development sector works, Pakistan and Safir being in Pakistan, the development sector field of Pakistan, this carries on a little bit more. If you are interested in development sector, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, the areas where the deprived communities in third world countries are thriving, these are going to be the best case studies for you to research to get your elements, and that is why Pakistan is being discussed as well here. Along with that, we as we move on to, you have said that the difficult, the hard part, the tough side of the society. These are the tough sides that we are most very excited to discuss because people sometimes when they're trying to lure you in a profession and showing you the picture that is very much real. I'm not denying to the fact that it's not real, but there are tough sides to everything. There are challenges in every particular field. We want to
Of
like to know
course,
a little bit about those challenges because those who are even thinking about opting it, they get to have a better data and a better understanding before making a decision. So let's dive into that segment of our podcast. The development sector can be complex, full of bureaucracy, donor pressure as well, public skepticism. So, what's been one of the most difficult challenges for you in the development sector, and what complexity hit you the most?
Well, especially since 2015 onwards, when actually I decided I stopped working. I continued working till 2019 or 2020, but in 2019 I decided to quit, and so I'm not working for any organization as such as an employee of any
What Safi
NGO
is doing right now, we'll
since
just get back
2019.
to that. We'll just get back to that,
Yeah,
what Safi is doing at the moment, but don't tell it to the audience
yeah.
just yet, Safi. And
Oh, okay, okay,
I would like to tell that to the audience because that's how we
okay,
got to know about you. So please carry on with the answer.
okay.
Yeah.
Uh, I'll leave that to you, don't worry. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
what became difficult in Pakistan was the excessive bureaucratic intervention from the government side, actually. So there was a time, one way of working is that you start a project, you share the project with the relevant government agencies, they review it, and if they okay, so you can go ahead and implement the project. Nobody has an objection. But that was not the case. It became so difficult that under each project, if I have a project and I'm going to, let's say, conduct 30 community sessions on child marriages or girls education or any other issue, I have to get an NOC from the government departments, relevant government departments, for each session separately. So that
Hmm.
became really difficult to work. So receiving foreign donations became a very difficult part because there were too many people asking questions, too many questions, and it appeared that these questions are not being asked for the sake of transparency, but just because they want to make it difficult for us to work. And this was more difficult for the organizations which were doing human rights based work. If you are doing a charity work, you are, organizing food camps for people who don't have food, or you are providing the medical medicines, or treatment facilities. That kind of stuff you could do, and the government agencies wouldn't have any problem with that. But if you are doing a right-based work, you um, go up and you say that, okay, education or health is the basic right of the children, is the basic right of the citizen, protection is the basic right of women and children and transgender community, and that kind of stuff, and you start asking questions, and you start pressurizing the relevant government departments to provide security, to provide health facilities, to provide education facilities, etc., you are becoming a nuisance for the government. So they would
Hmm.
try to squeeze your funding sources so that you become a less of a nuisance. So that was the case between 2015, I would say, between 2015 and 2019 or 2020. So the situation changed a little bit after 2022 when there were floods in the Sindh province in Pakistan, and government needed support from the NGOs so they could handle the displaced people who were displaced because of the excessive rains in Sindh. So currently it's a bit better than it was in 2015 to 2020, but still it's difficult to work. So that is one of the challenges. And when the government is not being cooperative, it's being too interfering with your work. The other issue that comes up then, that is finding resources. Since you are on the receiving end, the people who can support you, the people who can provide funds, the people who can sponsor your projects, they would also take a back step. So funding would become more difficult for you.
Hmm.
So these are the challenges, and I'm really happy that there are quite a lot of NGOs which are surviving, and they are still which are still fighting this situation, and they are still working.
Perfect. And as if you're somebody who understand, empathize with the marginalized sectors of society and wants to make a change, but also have a temperament to go through that kind of pressure that has just been discussed,
Yep.
and this kind of the clash between the bureaucracy, the clash between department to department standing. If you thrive for that, in short to say, if you have a knack for marketing, if you have a knack for doing things your way, and if your interest aligns with the marginalized societies of marginalized communities of societies, then I guess this is one way to go, and that pretty much answers in terms of your temperament. So you have once one a person must have to assess themselves to see where they lands on. Again, moving forward, before that, as I have dropped you in your last answer. So Safir is now heading a very, very amazing website. Is a tech website is called Pak NGOs, and this is a platform where all the NGOs are registered. They come together. It's a forum for the Pakistan NGOs and international NGOs as well that come together and get to see what is being done and how it is being done, and what further developments can happen within the development sector. And kudos to you for founding this forum, especially for Pakistan, because there's no such forum available in the country, and there are multiple examples in other countries as well. You get to see that Pak NGO stands tall when it comes to bringing NGOs and development sector together. So that is what Safi is doing right now. Since 2017, as you have said, in 2019, you have stepped back formally
Yeah.
from the NGO sector and is still very much connected. And that's the reason, because he's a person who have seen everything. So now we're going to dive into the next question, and that is communication role in NGOs. So this is often communication role, or let's say design role, or let's say even a tech role, or educationist role, any role that go into an NGO, go into the department of NGO, gets to overlooked in society, undervalued in society. Have you ever had to, advocate your role to the people who don't know much about it? How much is undervalued? And if somebody would like to, get to see their own standing in the society much longer and get to communicate it to people, and wants the kind of certain validation from people as well when it comes to their professional field, should they join development sector or not? What kind of undervalued or overlooked elements you had to face in your career?
Mhm. Okay, that question has each of your question has so many layers and so many aspects,
Yeah,
so
but yeah,
it needs a
but I guess
complete.
that sums it up. That's a part of a good
Yeah.
question, I guess.
Okay, so I would try to answer it from two or three angles. Number one, uh, as far as international organizations or UN agencies are concerned, they have a full-fledged, they usually have a full-fledged communication department. So within the organization, they know the significance or the importance of the communication department. And that communication department is usually well equipped. They have some professionals in there, somebody who thinking head, and there are designers, there are people who develop web pages, there are people who develop social media posts, there are people who develop brochures or other communication materials. Now video is becoming so common. So and somebody heads them, so they work together as a team and create communication materials. But as far as Pakistani NGOs, national NGOs is concerned, I believe that the national NGOs don't uh, understand the significance of the importance of the communication. As I told you just a little while ago, that the communication is even better, even more important than resource mobilization sometimes, because communication helps you mobilize resources. Communication helps you connect with the right kind of donors, with the right kind of sponsors. Uh, so you get to they get to know you through your communication materials. Your communication people introduce your organization to them, and if
So
an
that gives the
organization
initiating point. Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
just for example, if I tell you that you have some amounts, let's say mm, $10, you want to donate to an organization. So when you go and you hear a name that you haven't heard before, and then there is another organization that you read about it in some newspaper or heard about it in some uh, news bulletin or something, and you saw their post on social media, you are more likely to donate those $10 to the organization that you know rather than the organization that you never heard of. Though practically, maybe the organization that you never heard of was working 10 years, since 20 years or so. And the organization that you knew about is maybe just 5 years old. But you chose the 5 years old organization to donate to because you know her, you know that organization. And there is another organization that is working for 20 years, but nobody knows about them. So that's the importance of communications as far as resource mobilization is concerned. And resource mobilization is, of course, always the key area, because without resources, no organization can function. So that's how communication is important, but this is not realized by Pakistani NGOs, the management of the Pakistani NGOs. I have to work really hard with, I have to discuss it with them, work really hard to convince them that communication is very, very important for them. No, as far as on the other side, I mean, if you say communities or the general public is concerned, uh, general public usually sees what is being done on the ground. And since we, the communication people, are rarely on the ground, because on the ground, it's the field staff that is implementing the project. They are conducting the community sessions. They are distributing the food materials or whatever being distributed to the homeless or I mean, hungry people. Uh, so they are more visible. Their work is more acknowledged in the communities as compared to the people who are working behind them. So the finance people who stay in the offices, the HR person, HR department, the communication department. These are the departments that would uh, be behind the scenes. So if you, I mean, if you, I would I can use the theater as an example. So people would appreciate the actors more. The actors would be more well known because they appear on the stage. People can see them. But there are a lot of people behind the stage who handle the lights, who handle the sounds, who handle so many other things. They are not visible, so they don't get as much attention and as much credit. That's how, I mean,
I guess,
you can
yes, that
compare
sums up
an
sums it up
organization
very
with that.
yes,
Yeah,
sums it up
thank
very
you.
well as so if you are somebody who don't want the hassle of
If you would allow me one more minute, I
please
would say that if you are dealing with the communication, especially, I mean, though I personally believe that every department, even the finance people, should also go into the field once in a while to know, to understand the implications, the intricacies of the field work. That helps a lot in understanding how the people in the field work, and how harsh or how good or how soft you should be towards them when they face problems. But particularly about communications, I would suggest that the communication person should go more frequently in the field. They should go into the communities there, because we are the ones who would pick stories from the communities. We would pick case studies from the communities, and we should not entirely depend on the information that comes from the field officers, the project implementing staff. We should
have it
sometimes
firsthand.
do go out and connect with the community people, to collect the case studies, to collect, I mean, even to collect the success stories. Uh,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, you do get project reports from them, but when you go to the field, you get the real feel what's happening in the field, what change your staff, your colleagues have been able to bring about, and how it really feels. So you would be more in a better position to project those successes or the challenges your staff is facing. You will be
Mhm.
better able to project those successes and those challenges to the general community, to the general public, to the stakeholders, because we have to communicate with the stakeholders, with the donor organizations. We'll be submitting the reports. We are
Understandable.
dealing
Yes, you
with
have to
the
see.
general public. Yeah.
Yes, you have to have the first-hand experience of what is being done on the field, where on the grassroots, where it is making a difference. And I guess that's a very important point and a very important suggestion for the people who are pursuing the field as well, be it communication or be it any development sector field. That's very important to actually see firsthand what is being done, what is happening in the heart. But now, as we have gone through this, I would like to see let's put it this way. It's a very difficult question to ask, and ask to a professional who has been into the field, because it's kind of a harsh question. What is one hard truth about the field, a harsh reality of the field of development sector? Let's just not contain this towards only communication, overall development sector.
Mhm.
The hard truth or
Mhm.
harsh reality that nobody actually talks about, but it's very much there.
Well, I would say there are many things, but one or two things, if I have to
The
highlight
top,
one or two
yes.
things, the top, I would say, uh, there are many a time there are projects that you are implementing, and the people who should be benefiting from that, who are benefiting from them, they may not acknowledge the contribution you are making. Okay, so especially if it's we generally divide our work, the development work, into two categories. They often say that there is a soft part of it and there is a hard part of it. So if you are going into the communities and you are distributing tents, or you are distributing food, or you are distributing, let's say, medicine, that is hard part of it. And this is acknowledged. People would be really happy. But if you are working on changing mindsets, if you are, creating awareness, you are doing this. This is the kind of stuff that we call it the soft side of it. And this is the work that is usually not welcomed by the communities, because they don't understand the significance of this, and that is kind of thankless job that we
Yeah.
do. And we, the communication people, actually, more so, because we would not be going out and distributing the hard stuff. We'll always go to collect stories. We'll always go to understand this real situation in the field. So we would often face that kind of challenge.
Yes, and
The
like
people would not be welcoming,
yeah,
diving deep into their psyche, understanding their
yeah.
issues. They would not be open to sharing their problems. So that is a difficult part, and that the communication person needs to work on himself or herself as well, to find, to be able to connect with the community people when you go out there, and you need to dig out this information.
Yes, I guess just to because just this amazing example got into my mind about this. So I guess just to summarize it a little, community can be seen as a child in this scenario, a toddler probably, and the soft side, the hard side, as we said, is going to be a parent who is all about showering the kid with all the toys and chocolates and all these fancy things, and the kid definitely going to appreciate that more. But the soft parent is going to be looking into the future of the child and maybe making some kind of amends
Yeah,
towards
exactly.
that, so I guess that's the best way to explain it, what Safia just said. And yes, it is difficult because once you shake the understanding and the basic
Yeah,
concepts of people, it definitely goes in that way. And I guess that's the nature of it. When you're trying to change minds, you have
Yeah,
to be the
for
blunt.
example, I have talked a lot about girls' education or child marriages. So if I stretch that example a little more, uh, if there's a man in the community who wants to get his daughter married, and I provide him support in dowry, he would be really happy. He would be so thankful. He would be so grateful. But if
Hmm.
I go to him, and advise him that he should not get his daughter married because she is not 18 yet, he should send his girl to school so she learns something, she gets a certificate, and tomorrow, if she needs, she would be able to get a job. She would be able
Yeah.
to have a better life. This is something that he won't look down upon. He would, oh, somebody from the city has come here to lecture me on how I should
Yeah.
raise my
Because
daughters, and
belief
that's the
systems are
kind of
being
stuff.
changed.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so
Belief
you have
systems
to
are
be
being
really
changed.
careful, and very, need to deal with it very intelligently.
Yes. So, if you are somebody who actually wants to change societies on a bigger scale with the longevity of changing generations' future, I guess that's one attractive element which you'll see. But yes, it's a hard choice to make, and I hope that this podcast, the Career 101 session 6 that we are doing at the moment, with Safeer Ullah Khan, is going to help you in making that choice. This could be your path as our next segment, Safeer. I'm going to sum it up as much as I possibly can. If just to throw understanding of it, I hope what kind of mindset, what kind of passion, what kind of qualities. Let's cover up all these things. A person needs to have in order to pursue a career in development sector, be it communication or be it the other fields as well, which are directly very much the factoring key factors of development sector. What kind of passion and the qualities and the mindset a person needs to have. Those who are growing up, their innate nature needs to possess those things in order for them to
Mhm.
remotely pursue this profession.
Okay. Mhm. Okay. Well, if you are joining development sector, your most probably your foremost objective is to bring about a change in the society.
Hmm.
So one thing that I would like to advise my young fellows is that the change doesn't come overnight. It's a
Okay.
very slow, it needs a lot of patience. It needs a lot of patience. You have to be very slow, but very persistent to be able to bring about a change within a small community. I'm not talking about the entire nation, the entire country. Within a small community, you have to work consistently. You have to be very intelligent, and you need to find out when you should push forward and when you should step back a little. Okay? And remember
Hmm.
that the people, the communities that you are going to work with, they have their own opinion. They have their own opinions, and these are very strong opinions formed over so many years, maybe centuries, because they are being transferred from parents to their children and to the next generation and the next generation. So these beliefs are held by them for centuries. So they are, really passionate about them, and it's really, really very difficult to change them. In fact, when I talk to my colleagues who are going to work in the field, and because I have a lot of experience, and I myself actually started from field work as well. So I have experience of working with the community, directly working with the communities. Later on, became manager and started sitting in the office. But even then, I love to travel and go out into the communities and talk to the people, to women, to children, to old men sitting there, even if it was not my job. So
Hmm.
so you have to be very patient. They are holding these opinions. These are being transferred to them from generation to generation.
Yeah.
I often would advise my young fellows that uh, changing somebody's mindset should not be your objective. You cannot. That's not possible. What you can do is bring up the alternative reality, the other side of the story, because they are believing in something for centuries and they have continued to look at it from this particular one angle. They have never looked at it from another angle. They have always thought that the daughter should be married off as soon as possible. She should be married 15 years old, 16 years old. Delaying her marriage till 20 is really unnecessary. Educating your daughter is not required. It's a wastage of money or something like that, because they haven't seen any educated daughter around. It's not just one family in the village, it's the entire village, and the same is happening in the villages surrounding that village. So it's extended community that is going through the same. So you cannot make them change their mind overnight just with one community session, just with one I would say street theater performance or something like that. You need to work consistently over the years with the same community, and you need to bring up the other side of the story. So when I was talking about that village where people started sending their own daughters to the school. It took 5 years, because in 5 years we were able to send some of the girls, because we could not send all of the girls because the community did not agree. Only a few parents agreed to send their girls to schools, provided we took the burden of the financial burden of the girls' education. So a few girls started going to school. In the next year, we were able to add a few more. In 2 to 3 years' times, we were able to send 30 girls to schools. In 5 years' time, 30 girls I mean, graduated. They got 10 years of education. because they were I mean there was already a school in the in that particular village up to the primary levels. 5 years of schooling was being done in that village, and since people were not, I mean the girl is usually a 10 year, from 5 to 10 years the girl is too young, she cannot help with the household chores,
Yeah.
and sending the girl to the school within the village doesn't cost you extra. So up to
Yeah.
primary education it's not an issue, people would send their girls, okay, she is not at home,
Because
she would
it's a
be,
norm. It's
yeah,
easily
it's not.
acceptable. Yeah.
But sending your girl to high school becomes difficult because it involves additional cost. And now the
Mm.
girl is more than 10 years old. She can support her mother in household chores as well. So
Yeah.
the mother has, I mean, the mother has the disadvantage that somebody who can help her with household chores will be going out to school, which means she would be burdened with the entire household chores. And the father has the
Yeah.
additional burden of spending money on her education. So
Mm.
that's why the girl is not sent to school. But when these girls, a few girls from the village went up, I mean, got education up to metric level and beyond, and then they started earning, and they suddenly starting really big amounts. The father had not earned that much amount in his entire life. He never earned that much per month income. He never had that. So, and the girl has started earning more than her father. This entirely changed the whole perspective. They were like with open eyes looking at it. Oh, what's happening? So that then changed the situation. So you have to be patient. You have to work with them. There were people who did not agree to send their girls to school. We didn't fight with them. We go, okay,
Mm.
that's your opinion. Thank you. Respect their opinion, even if you think their opinion is wrong.
Just showing, yeah,
Respect
as
them.
very much well put before,
Yeah,
like showing them the alternative reality, what can happen, what could happen if you go in that
yeah,
direction.
exactly.
Perfect. That's so amazing. Yes, and so I guess just to summarize, sum up, the answer is like if you have patience, if you have a knack for social development, and if you have the patience for development to take place, patience for change to come in, and if you want, if you see society and you see that there is margin and improvement, room of improvement and a room of change is still there, and if you can recognize that, that's one
Yeah.
way to go about it. I guess I'll dive right into it as
Uh,
we are going
I,
forward
I
with
I
it.
would like to add one more thing, Ahad. Sorry
Yeah,
to interrupt you. That as I told you, that change is very slow, but it
yeah,
always speeds up with the time.
yeah.
Okay.
So
So
it's difficult initially.
initially it would be very slow. It would test your patience. But as I mean, in the same example that I quoted earlier, that uh,
Understandable.
initially it was difficult to send even 10 girls to school. But within 2 3 years, we were able to send 30 girls to school. But after
Yeah.
5 years, we have stepped out of that village, but 45 girls are going to school now without any external support. So just see
Hmm.
how, I mean, the change has taken up speed.
Yes. And and it carries with that momentum. It's like
Yeah, the
multiplication.
momentum is increasing. And I believe
Yeah.
if I go back to the village today, there might be 60 or 70 girls going to school. The number would have
And that,
certainly increased.
yes. And that is like the most important element of change, that it keeps on happening and it keeps on improving even when you're out of the
Yeah.
equation as well. So that's a very good point that has been raised.
And
With that,
that should be our objective. I mean, we
yeah.
cannot be there for the rest of our lives or for entire, I mean, their lives. We as an NGO, we always have to step out. So we need
Mhm.
to design projects that go on. I mean, the project would end, of course, with 2 years or 5 years at the max. But we should design projects in such a way that when we step out of it, the benefits remain with the community and it continues going on its own.
Understanding. Yes, very much understandable. With that, Safir, one more thing that is going to be very important for the people who
Mhm.
are thinking about entering this field. What should be the entry points and key exploration elements like volunteering, freelancing, internship? These are the things that people do when they are going into, they want to go into a field. So somebody will start, if wants to be a graphic designer, he will start freelancing on graphic while he or she is studying. If somebody wants to be in the media communication field, they'll try to internship with a channel. What kind of key points are required, and what kind of key points can be the direction for people who wants to come into development sector to take up on?
Well, I think more or less it's the same path. You can volunteer for the organizations working in your area. You can help them with, if you are a communication person, your graphic designer, you can design things for them. You can, write things for them. You can
Hmm.
make videos if and you are good at that. You can attend their
Hmm.
events, seminars, or conferences, or if they are organizing any community related events, so they are maybe organizing a sports gala or something
Yeah.
of women in the rural areas or any other downtrodden areas. So you can help them in organizing those events. You can help them uh, create materials for those events. You can do internships if you are a finance person and want to join any NGO. You would most probably do an internship in their finance department. And I would suggest that you do these things with multiple organizations rather than just one organization. So you get to know the organization, the culture within the organization, because every organization has its own culture, how
Yeah.
good it is,
So
and
that
how
would be,
comfortable you are with that. It
yeah.
might be very good for others, but not good for
Yeah.
you. It might be very bad for others, but maybe you like it, that kind of atmosphere, and you are happy with it.
Perfect.
So another point is that working with different organizations, you would understand various aspects of the organization of this development work.
Yeah.
You would learn different things. If you work with just one organization, that wouldn't open up all the development sector for you, all the aspects of it. So
Hmm.
I would advise that you do internships with multiple organizations, you do volunteer work with them, you work with the community, you work whatever. And when you do different kind of work, you find your own path, your own liking, what you like doing. So you that would give you an idea what you should do. Whether you should
So
join
yes.
their communication department, whether you should go into the field work, whether you should go, write proposals for them or develop their website, or what exactly you like doing there. So that would help you. This
Okay.
is the starting point, and uh, it's sad for Pakistan that in Pakistan these organizations rarely announce any internship opportunity. So you have to approach them on your own and ask them for an internship. And most probably, if you approach them on your own, you would have to do this first internship free of cost without any benefits, any stipend or anything. But even then, I would suggest that you should do it because this will bring you experience. This and see, there are so many. Any professional education you get when you are in university, you have a very different idea of that profession. When you go actually in that profession, for example,
The language
legal
changes. Yeah.
profession.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So when you are in a law college, it's very different. But when you go
Yeah.
actually into the district courts, there's
Yeah.
an entirely different life over there. So
Yes.
these internships, this volunteer work, this would give you a fairly good idea of what actually it means to be in the development sector. And then you
That
can
goes
pick and
for,
choose.
yes. That goes for pretty much every field when it comes to
Yeah,
on your fingertip. Because when it in terms of media, understanding and studying media is something else. Going into the field and doing the job is something else. Doctors, there's the book law and there's the
exactly.
medicine, and there's this actual practicing medicine. Book law, there's
Exactly.
practicing law. So yes, that happens with this field as well. And if you are interested about and if you have a knack for change, so definitely thrive towards it, especially in your early age, because that's the part of age where you have the energy and the temperament to face all that difficulty, and it's not very difficult in that point of time. Now coming to one of the most important key elements, not much discussed when we think about choosing a career for ourselves, and that is the factor of money. So money, finances,
Mhm.
the monetary gains, how beneficial are they when it comes to it? You can also use an example of another profession, just to give them, the people and the kids who are going to watch this podcast, the idea of how beneficial monetarily it is. Because once you have that mental peace and financial security, you get to do more about these things. You get to be a better contributor to the society, because if you're not mentally at a certain frame set of security, and financially you're not at a certain frame set of security, you cannot be a very a positive contributor at that level when you have those things. So this is a one question that is very important. We always ask this. What is your take on this?
Well, it's really dicey. It's really
Okay.
difficult because it varies a lot. When people ask me what's the salary range, I mean, in NGOs, what the kind of designations we have, or the hierarchy we have, is usually a project officer, assistant project officer is the lowest. I mean, the beginner who has just joined something, you work on just one project and you assist somebody else. Then there is project officer who is senior to you. Then there is project coordinator, maybe in the middle, and then there is project manager. So this is the hierarchy, and then there are directors at the upper level. So if it's a really big project, you might have a project director as well. This is one side, and then there is another stream which is called programs. Now I'm talking about NGOs, so specifically
Hmm.
NGOs.
Hmm.
So projects are the ones which come with donor funding and go. So these are usually limited time, 2 years. The longest the longest project I saw in my life was 8 years long, but that
Okay.
was an exception. That was the only one. The longest projects are usually 5 years, and the shortest could be 3 months to 6 months, 1 year. Generally, projects are 1 year, 2 years long, not more than that.
Okay.
Majority of, I would say, 80% of the projects have
Okay.
1 year to 2 years length. Uh, so, uh, so these the people who work on those projects are called project officers. So
Hmm.
you might hear that project finance officer. That means this person is going to deal with the finances of this particular project, not the entire organization. So this is one stream, projects, and then there is another stream that is called programs. Programs are the ones that keep going on. These are not limited time programs. So if it's limited time, it's project. If it is long term, that goes on, it's program. So
Hmm.
you have a same kind of hierarchy over there. There is an assistant program officer. There is and then they may create a few more levels. Like there is senior assistant program officer. There program
Understandable, but
officer. Then there
if
is senior
somebody
program officer. Well, but you
understandable,
understand where would it
I
stand?
understand the
And then
hierarchy.
there is
I guess
program
that dabs
coordinator
into.
and manager.
Yes, we can
Yeah,
comprise it into somebody who's starting at the early stages of development sector, maybe not an
yeah, early
intern,
stage.
who's just entering an NGO and see his future, help him guide his future or her future in the
Yeah,
next 3 years. Let's say 3 years salary and 3 years of financial element
yeah.
that goes into the development
So,
sector.
so what I actually I wanted to explain this hierarchy before I could talk about the money matters. Uh,
Yeah.
the problem is that the salary range would vary a lot from small scale Pakistani NGO. You might get very limited salary, which may not be enough for your commute to the office even. And then
Hmm.
there are big national NGOs which pay you really well, and then there are international NGOs. So if you are lucky enough to get into that, you would get really good salary, and there are maybe there are other benefits as well, like those funds that you receive at the end of your if you whatever time your job is terminated, whether you resign or the organization decides to terminate or say goodbye to you, they would be paying you some amount. There may be medical benefits involved. The bigger the organization is, the bigger the benefits are. You get paid leaves, international leaves. In
Yeah.
fact, in some big international organizations, you are forced
Organized
to take
groups.
2 weeks off every year. If you don't take off, they would send you on forced leave. So
That's
that is
amazing.
another extreme. So this salary ranges vary a lot. But I believe if you are really hardworking person, you are a good learner, you would make room for yourself, and you will. I mean, there should be a demand for yourself. I mean, if I can give my own example, I have worked for 19 years in the development sector professionally. I mean, as a regular employee, and then afterwards, I am serving the development sector as consultant. So sometimes I'm hired partially. Some of my time is taken by one organization, and then another organization takes another day or two of my time. And then I what I am required to do is, because they know I am good at communication, so I may be developing a brochure from them. I may be reviewing a report that their communication person has written. uh, I may be looking at reviewing their website and suggesting or advising them how to improve it, and what more stuff they can put on their website, what's missing on their website, kind of that kind of. So I advise them on communication related issues. Sometimes they ask me to translate stuff for them in different languages. So if you are good at something and people know that you are good at it, they would give you opportunities. You have you are demanded. Your demand is there, and then you can ask for. I mean, you can negotiate your salary with the organization.
Okay.
But
But
if you are
it
not
is
good, if your repute is not good, then you will certainly
definitely.
face
So,
difficulties. Of
yeah,
course, there are other external factors. Like I said, the Pakistan's development sector is shrinking in past 10 years or so. So that would mean the opportunities are shrinking, the opportunities are
but
lesser.
yes, that
So
could be the case.
that kind of difficulties. But that's never it may not remain the same. Who knows that tomorrow the situation starts changing, the government thinks that the NGOs are doing. I mean, if the government changes and the new government, the new
Understandable.
management feels that the organizations are doing good job, we should have certain restrictions on them, but they should be able to work. They do good job, and they are complementing the government's efforts to raise the education standard or something like that. And they give you more opportunities, more space to work. So the situation may start changing. So these ups and downs are with every sector.
Understandable. And as it is mentioned, like you can make a lucrative living out of it, but it is going to be a hard living as well. Understanding the
Yep.
whole podcast that has came so far, the work is sometimes undervalued. It needs to be advocated. It needs to be, as you have said, you have to demand what you think, and on paper and on your portfolio, what you have covered. So yes, if money is a key factor for you, and that is a factor of deciding which career you need to take, and if that's something that excites you, I guess the reality of the moment would be that the development sector is not going to be your field. If you
Yeah,
find
Ahad, if I interrupt here, you here, uh, whenever these young people come up to me and ask for my advice on their career paths and things, I always say that it's you who makes money, not a particular career, not a particular
Hmm.
sector. For example, when somebody talks to me, I say, okay, if uh, if you look at the lawyers, there are some lawyers who are making millions of rupees every day. For they charge million of rupees for every case they take up.
The
But
skill
then
they
there are
possess.
thousands of other lawyers in the
Yeah.
district courts who are getting hardly anything per day at all. So it's up to you. In every profession, there is competition. Whatever
Yes.
profession you take up, it's
Yes,
up to you.
definitely.
You work hard. You make room for yourself. You are uh, able to prove your metal, then you are
Hmm.
able to demand.
But Safir, would you agree that the deciding factor for a young kid out there, maybe imagine that who's listening to this podcast, the deciding factor in his or her mind at the moment is, okay, so I want to make big money right away. So maybe I'll go into
Yep.
crypto, maybe I'll go into tech because I want
Yeah.
that.
Then
So if that
with
is going around your mind, then double check your interest and see that if this is the field
definitely.
for you. If change,
Definitely,
if
if you are into big money, you should not join development sector, because let's say, just let me put a situation before you. I
yeah,
am a professional, communication professional. I charge really high amounts, but my organization is working for the uh, downtrodden communities, some marginalized communities. I
yeah,
mean, it would be really difficult for myself to justify the big amount that I am asking for. That amount
yeah.
should be actually spent on those marginalized communities for whom we are working. So
Hmm.
it would always be an ethical question for you if you demand big money. You would be in a really difficult ethical
Yes,
situation always.
Yes, so that also covers the harsh reality of the moment, because you might be doing the very, very, very important and hard stuff, that be a very, very important communicator and contributor to the society, but yet you put your needs a little behind. Then you see, or the bigger, broader picture, how things are going on about it. So yeah, that is something that is going on, and I guess we have covered this very, very gracefully, showed the reality a little bit as well. I guess the last thing that I would like to ask you, and then we are going to sum up the podcast, is about the future of development sector, especially in the age of AI. Things being written by themselves, as we have covered it a little bit in this in the beginning of the podcast as well. How do you see the development sector in the next 10 to 15 years? And we will think a little broader as well, not just Pakistan, like overall, over all around the world, how it's going to tap into.
I think whatever technology has come so far, it has always made life easier for us, but it has not been able to replace us. And that is not going to happen in the development sector, particularly, I believe. Why? Because I don't think the AI would be ever able in next 10 to 15 years. Of course, I can't see beyond that, but even I can't see that much. But what I can conclude from my experience. AI won't be able to distribute food at a place where a earthquake or a flood has struck or something like that. People are displaced, they are living in camps, and you have to distribute food, you have to distribute, set up camps and provide health facilities, etc. AI would make it easier, AI would make it faster, but AI would not be able to do it instead of human beings, at least in next 15, 20 years. So development sector would be needed, human beings would be needed. They will have to do the field work, and especially when it comes to this changing the mindsets and raising awareness on issues, etc. So AI would certainly help you make it faster, make it easier. If I have to design a community session around a certain issue, let's say transgender rights, AI would probably help me create materials really very quickly. But of course, this material has to be delivered by human beings at least in next 10, 15 years. Have
Understandable,
I
and
answered
that
your
is.
question?
It does. It does. It's mostly, it's actually summarize it very well. So yes, you are needed in the field, and yes, the world is becoming a place where more people who come up and show up and be for the other people are needed, are very important. Are they going to get their dues? Well, definitely. If you find your bliss in certain things that is related to changing the society, making a change in the mindset of society, making a change in the longevity of the bigger picture as you see in the world. Definitely, this is something that can be explored as you're calling. But definitely, we have covered all the aspects. If there are certain other things, if you're not into writing, or if you're not that much into, there's no shame about it. There's just that this one is not for you, and that simple it is. And that's the reason for doing Career 101, so that the people, and especially the young adults who are watching right now, get to find a better dimension for themselves, and go in that dimension without wasting a year or two and understanding. So that is our motive, and we are going to keep at that. And with that, very, very hushly, I would say that we are almost at the end of our podcast. Safir, thank you so much for giving us this time, for sharing not just your expertise, but you have also shared your journey, your work that reminds that the narrative of change is just as important as the change itself. And the careers in development are built on purpose, perseverance, and people. For instance, and for our listeners, if you have ever wondered whether you could build a meaningful career in development, whether through advocacy, communication, or grassroots impact, we hope that this communication, this conversation, that podcast sparks something inside you. And I would really like you to share something of your experience. How was it for you? And I hope that you enjoyed the questions, and having a walk down the memory lane as well for your 2 decades of in the career. Please share your thoughts.
Thank you so much, Ahad. I think this is already a very, very long podcast. I think it's
It sure
already
is. It
1 hour
went
and
on, and
30 minutes or so.
yeah.
I'm really happy that I could contribute something. I could share my insights. I don't know how useful they would be to the youngsters, but I would like to see their comments in this on this video whenever this is shared and at whatever platform, so that I know and understand how relevant my answers were
Oh, it
for
was.
them,
It's.
or I can
Oh.
improve so the next time I come up with better answers.
No, yeah, yeah, the answers were very better. As going into the podcast, a lot of questions were answered on their own through your communication, because the podcast was carrying four different segments that goes on, and I've skipped a few questions as well through the answer that all covered together. And thank you so much for being that brief with your journey, and thank you, Safir, for being on board for this
My,
Career 101 session 6 for
my pleasure.
Afreej e-learning platform. With that, amigos, and all the listeners and all the podcast viewers, thank you so much for joining in for yet another amazing session of Career 101. This time we have given you a glimpse of what happens and what goes around the development sector. Next time, probably we are coming with something with the business development element. And I hope that you keep getting favored with these podcasts, and keep enjoying, keep watching, and stay tuned in with the free updates. Thank you so much. Take care. We are going to sign off now. Allah Hafiz.